Welcome to the Daredevil Marketing Podcast. The Daredevil Marketing Podcast is the only podcast on the planet that focuses on real life, no fluff, fearless marketing strategies that help you make it big in modern web-based business. The Daredevil Marketing Podcast is your source for advice, tips, tweaks, tricks, news, and interviews with the big names in online marketing today, and focuses on traffic generation, lead generation, and profit generation that gets you up and running and profitable right now. As always, you can grab complete show transcripts, get the scoop on upcoming episodes, and subscribe to our podcast feed and newsletter so you never miss a single money-making trick at daredevilmarketing.com. But beware, the Daredevil Marketing Podcast may contain language and content unsuitable for children under the age of 18. Here's your host, the Daredevil Marketer himself, Robert Stooks, with an urgent message to jump out of your seat, grab your favorite drink, shut the door, take the phone off the hook, and pay very, very close attention, because it's time to profit.
What's up, and welcome to the Daredevil Marketing Podcast. I'm your host, Robert Stooks, and on today's episode, I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time talking before we get into the interview portion of the show, and that's because our topic of discussion is so vitally important to you and I as owners of online businesses. Now, that topic is, of course, the online payment processors, or rather the troubles that can arise when the relationship between online business owners like us and our payment processors become troubled. Now, if you listened to yesterday's episode, then you heard me speak with fellow marketer Russ Ruffino about his recent headaches with PayPal. And while his experience has undoubtedly been one that can hardly be described as pleasant, Russ was quick to point out the extremely valuable lesson that we all need to remember when selling online. And that is, of course, the very dire need to ensure that you always have an alternative payment processor in place just in case something happens with whichever primary method of collecting money you're currently using. So this is, of course, Online Business 101, but it's sometimes more difficult to implement than it seems. And this is because even though there's an immense need for diversification in online payment processing, if you've done any kind of research into the matter, you're going to quickly find that viable, trustworthy alternatives are very few and far between. Now, knowing this, I'm always interested to hear about breakout companies that are not only willing to accommodate the needs of online merchants like us, but are actively seeking to create and foster ongoing professional relationships with us. And perhaps the most notable example of a company reaching out to online merchants is that of WikiPay. Now, if you haven't heard of WikiPay, they're a company that is actively positioning themselves as a viable alternative to older online payment processing solutions through the implementation of some cutting-edge technology, particularly in areas like mobile payments and merchant customer communication. And by that, I mean WikiPay has been able to implement a system that not only allows merchants to receive payments from their customers, but also communicate with their customers directly on their mobile devices in some pretty exciting ways. And unlike some of the older payment processors that will hardly return a canned email, in my research, I found that the WikiPay team is not only extremely forthcoming, but more than willing to help interested merchants as much as possible. In fact, in my request to have a representative come on to the Daredevil Marketing Podcast to speak with us about WikiPay, none other than WikiPay's Chief Marketing Officer, Mr. Ali Fakhari, agreed to an interview. Now, before we go into that interview, I want to stress that I instigated communication with WikiPay to find out more about their services for my own business, and I am not, nor have I ever been professionally associated with WikiPay either as an affiliate or in their direct employ. And what I mean by that is that I have not, nor will I ever receive any kind of benefit, monetary or otherwise, from conducting this interview other than the pleasure of speaking to Mr. Fakhari and learning more about the WikiPay system. So with that being said, here's the interview with Mr. Ali Fakhari of WikiPay. I've got here today with me Mr. Ali Fakhari, the Chief Marketing Executive for WikiPay, and that's at wikipay.com. Can you give me a little bit of background about the service?
Absolutely. You can consider us, Robert, as a alternative to some of the existing payment processors out there in the market. So PayPal, OboPay, which has been around for some time, and hasn't really gained a lot of traction. Our service provides the opportunity for people to exchange money across our platform, send money to one another, and then also provides merchants the ability to do transactions with their customers and also to do payment processing through our both online and mobile platforms. So in that sense, think of us as having the capabilities to do pretty much all types of transaction processing that you would want, with the addition of a two-way communication engine, which is Wikiblast. And I think Wikiblast is really where we want to lead in this market, where we have probably the cheapest and most cost-effective source for sending mobile text and communications in a two-way manner. So instead of just having customers be bombarded by text messages coming from all different sources, merchants can really go in, use Wikiblast to customize, tailor, and target their messaging toward their customers in the right way. And then customers can opt in to communicate back with their merchants and provide them feedback on what's working well, would they like to make certain purchases, do the like coupon and reward offers that they're being sent, all those types of functionality. I think that's really where WikiPay and Wikiblast differentiates itself.
That's the feature I'm personally really excited about, is the Wikiblast feature. Well, one question I had about it is Wikiblast is a way that I can have my list and I can immediately send out a text message to them, and they can look at their phone and say, oh, Robert sent out this message or whatever. It's an offer and a brief text message, and basically all they have to do is reply back with yes and purchase the product.
That's exactly right. So for a very small flat fee, our merchants are able to sign up for $9.95 and send out pretty much as many text messages as they want to their customer base, who then opts in. So again, we don't want them to use this as a spamming platform. We really want them to target what they're saying in a very simple and effective text message to their consumers. So imagine if you're selling wine and you have several dozen cases that you're trying to sell to a specific and targeted group of customers. You can do that through our system. There's no setup fees or contracts, anything like that. You send this out, you tailor it. Once that customized message is received, the customer opens it up. The read rates, as you know, in text messaging are off the charts. Everyone opens up a text message because someone has their cell phone number. They're able to actually complete that sale. When that sale is completed, WikiPay gets a very small percentage of only sales that are completed. So as a result, again, one of the most effective ways to connect users and merchants and make transactions happen very quickly. And then at the end of it, we do a little bit of reporting for the merchant as well. So we shoot back to them what percentage were open, what percentage were read, what percentage actually led to sales, and here's how your various campaigns performed.
And and like you said, it's a pretty small fee too. It's $9.95 a month. Most of us in this space, we already have like an autoresponder, and I think one of the basic a basic autoresponder will cost you $19 a month. So with an established base on WikiPay, the $9.95 fee is more than adequate. But moving right along into your fees, I can see that from the website that merchants get the first 30 transfers in a month for free, and after that they pay 1% of each subsequent transfer. Is that correct?
That's correct. So again, for all our different fees that we established on WikiPay, we wanted to make sure that the cost savings that we're able to incur, given our proprietary technology, we're able to pass along to our customers. So really for us, the most important item here is making sure that the costs of doing these transactions really are transparent and are in such a way that any user can do this for free as long as they can. And then merchants have the ability to do those same kinds of transactions up to a point for free, and then the fees start coming as their volume increases. So really we want it to be as upfront as possible and have really a very low cost profile here.
The first set of fees and everything, that's certainly reasonable. And there's also the $1 fee to upload money and $1 to withdraw money to a bank account. And I see from the site that it says usually takes 24 to 48 hours because of the proprietary, the way that you handle the transfers?
Correct. So again, our transaction processing for WikiPay is done via ACH. So when you are loading money from your bank account, your personal bank account, to the WikiPay platform, that ACH transaction usually is not inexpensive either, but we charge a $1 fee to do those ACH on and off the platform. So that fee is there for that reason. And then within the system, pretty much all transactions we handle through our text servers. So more or less those fees we have taken off completely, and that's a free charge for users to send money within the WikiPay system. And then we also have the prepaid reloadable MasterCard product that we've developed, where you can actually take money that's on your WikiPay platform. If you purchase this prepaid reloadable card, also for $9.95, and that's just a one-time fee, then you can instantly send money from any mobile phone or from your internet service directly to that card and then use it wherever MasterCard's located. And that's also a very unique product. We haven't seen a lot of folks using that with some of our competitors, and we're hoping that with this real bridge that we've created between the mobile product and the physical world, a lot of our users will start to see the benefit of being able to load money instantly and use it without having some of the point of sale integrations that a lot of folks are trying to integrate.
Yeah, and one thing I do want to point out is WikiPay is available to people in the United States and people outside of the United States if they have a United States bank account. Is that correct?
That's correct. We've had a lot of folks from Canada saying, they love our system, they see how useful it is, but they're a little bit, trying to figure out how do I exactly use this system if I'm outside the U.S. So right now, while our system is only available for uploads and downloads, so transfers on and off the platform from U.S. bank accounts, we're hoping to expand this in the near future, over the coming months as we develop banking relationships with folks outside the U.S. to do that as well. But right now, it's primarily only available in the U.S.
Looking through the website, it does appear that the majority of your mission has been dedicated thus far to mobile transactions. And like we've been talking about, that's certainly an exciting realm. Is WikiPay planning to allocate the same amount of effort in bolstering and maintaining your web payment services as well, strictly on web pages? And what's WikiPay's long-term, kind of short-term and long-term plan as far as that goes?
Sure. Our functionality, everything that you see both on our mobile applications, our text applications, as well as our online site, are fairly robust. So pretty much anything you can do with mobile widgets and downloadable online widgets, we're enabling on both our platforms, so both online and through mobile. So we're really trying to be as comprehensive as possible in our offering to allow members to do pretty much all the transaction processing they need, and that's spanning across both of those platforms.
It can be argued that one reason, however small that reason may be, is impossible to determine. That the reason PayPal has become so large is that merchants' customers are not required to register or obtain a free account to purchase from a merchant using PayPal's merchant services. Why is this a requirement currently for WikiPay? It seems kind of odd to have to require that a customer have an account to purchase from you when they don't even have to have an account to receive money.
Our approach to identity verification and KYC, know your customer requirements and regulations has been fairly strict, and we put that onus on ourselves to really make sure that the work we're doing for our merchants and for our customers respectively is done in a manner that is fitting with all the regulations that are out there, as well as the thresholds that we put on ourselves. So we want to make sure that customers who come to WikiPay are identified, have established bank accounts, have established identities that we can track, as well as the merchants on the other side are established businesses who are doing legal activities and are really trusted by our customers. And then combining those two together, I think will make a community of real trust, where you see some folks may not have that in other payment processing and transaction engines. So our goal has really been to provide an honest and trustworthy way for these two communities to come together. And I think given how simple and cost effective our technology has been, these transactions are happening at a much more easy rate, and that's what our focus has really been to date.
The safety of it, the security of it, I totally agree with. I think the concern coming from merchants, and actually I know the concern coming from merchants is that many times when confronted with the requirement to join a new service, that can actually lower a conversion rate for a purchase, especially impulse buys. Let's say someone comes and it's like a $9-10 widget or whatnot. The one requirement to make a new account with someone, whereas on maybe another site, they can just enter in their credit card details securely and move along. That extra 30 seconds or minute it takes to create account, sometimes that will actually deter a customer. And we've seen that through testing over and over and over. So that's where that concern stems from. I do understand the need for security, but also I just wanted to convey that is our primary concern there.
Certainly. So, I think one of the ways we approach that is through the work that we've been doing with some of the nonprofits that we're working with. So when users come to donate, for instance, and they're using ACH primarily to make these donations, another way that folks like to make donations is obviously through credit card. They've been doing it for a number of years. Chargebacks are obviously far lower for charitable causes, as you know, versus transactions. So for our donate options, we actually have much lower thresholds when it comes to KYC in terms of being able to set someone up immediately, sign on, just put in your credit card information and make a donation. However, with merchants, again, to protect them and to protect customers, we try to go that one extra step of providing them with identity verification and making sure that people are really known to one another when making those transactions. Again, we don't want to have this process become too cumbersome. And if you look at our ideology framework, it's actually one of the easiest to use. It only requires a zip code and often a phone number that's linked to your mobile address. All those things are pretty straightforward and easy to use. And the one thing that our processors are doing for us in the background is trying to actually speed up that process. So even if someone wants to just use a credit card, sign on, quickly make a transaction, whether it's through a WikiPay button or a widget, again, they're helping us to do that. But our goal is to really try to have users who are coming onto our system, loading money onto our system, and using those to make transactions as, again, transparent and honest as possible.
Gotcha. When I went into the merchant application process for WikiPay, it does seem rather extensive, seeing how it asks for kind of a great deal of private information like a social security number, etc. To be honest, it looks much more like an application for a conventional merchant account than more conventional payment processes like PayPal, Google Checkout, 2CO, etc. So when WikiPay receives this account application, what sort of criteria is Wiki looking at? Are you guys pulling credit right away, or is that something you kind of hold back in the case of elevated activity or sales or chargebacks, or what exactly are you looking for?
Definitely. So our approach to merchant applications is extensive from the standpoint that, again, we want to understand where our customers will be doing their transactions. So while we never do credit checks immediately, we want to make sure that information is available and accessible to us. But really for us, the most important thing is making sure that when a customer starts doing transactions with a merchant, they are doing it in an approved manner. So we took that upon ourselves to make sure that we are as similar to established players as possible when it comes to setting up our merchants. And a lot of our merchants have been, large organizations, have been reputable sources, so that hasn't been a problem for us. And we don't anticipate that being a problem for smaller merchants who want to do one-off transactions either. However, we do want to make sure that we have that information ready to use if we need to. But again, we haven't. We've been fortunate not to have any issues that have come up with merchants so far.
Can you give any indication as to what limits a merchant may have on his or her account? And by that I mean, at what point of sales and volume does a merchant have to reach at a daily or weekly, a monthly, et cetera, rate for a review or a limitation to be placed on the account? Because in this market, sales can increase dramatically, literally overnight. You can go from an account that's been more or less dormant for the past 6 months and then have $30,000 in sales, which obviously payment processors and merchant accounts both will kind of freeze up. So is there any hard and fast rule to warrant kind of a review or a looking at? Obviously that situation would, but what's your stance on that, and what kind of information can you give us on that?
Sure. So to date, we have not put any limits on any of our merchants in terms of volume or sales dollar amounts and what they can do with our system. That said, if we did see some irregular activity or what we saw as potentially being harmful to our customers, we would review that. We haven't, again, had to freeze anyone's accounts. So we've been fortunate that, again, people have used this as a system to really do seamless transactions. And that's really what our focus has been. And again, that two-way communication that we establish between customers and clients when it comes to our merchants really has been there for an ability to reduce risk as much as possible, protect people's privacy, protect the transactions that occur so there are no chargebacks or disputes that come up. And that's really been our focus to date. But we have not had to set any limits. We love to see our customers growing as quickly as we are. And in our scope and the success that we've seen, we want to share that with the merchants that are using our system as well.
So from your standpoint, would it be a good idea, say if I've had an account for 4 months and I'm fairly new, I might have put a couple of thousand through in sales, but I haven't really had a launch, a large launch or anything. Would it be in my best interest to call a WikiPay rep and say, hey, I'm expecting an influx of sales in the next 3 days or something like that, just to give you a heads up? Would that be a good practice?
Absolutely. We've had folks do that through some of our master and sub agents before, where they'll call in and say, these are the types of transactions. We get this a lot with bill pay customers, for instance. We'll call in and say, we really want to increase our bill pay that's being done via mobile. Can you handle this type of volume? They will call us and we'll work with them to make sure that everything is in place. So again, it's a proactive approach that we're trying to take with our agents to make sure that our customers' needs are met.
Do merchants automatically get assigned to a rep, an account rep right away, or is it only after kind of they've started pushing some volume through that they can get someone's number to actually call? That I've never called into WikiPay's customer support before, but I do know that already you guys do have the reputation of being very upfront, very quick with your customer support. Do you have like an in-house customer support that a new merchant would have to go to, or do they get assigned a specific rep right away?
So all our customer support right now is supported in-house and onshore. So really, it's a very dedicated team to this. That said, our merchants who are signing up directly for accounts usually are going through agents who also know WikiPay very well and who we have a very tight relationship with. So while we don't match directly account reps to specific merchants, either based on size or scope of what they're doing, we do have a lot of agents who proactively manage those accounts and help them throughout this process, as I was mentioning. So really, okay, for us, they are the first line of approach for any of these merchants to go to and ask questions. And then ultimately, if things filter up to us that they need, we're always available here.
And the agents you speak of now, are these employed directly by WikiPay, or are they working on some kind of referral or commission basis?
They are working on a commission basis with us. They are partners through our processors and really are working to develop merchant relationships through us as well. So it's a very close relationship that we have with them, and it's worked out really well for both of us.
Are there any withdrawal limits for merchants? Daily, weekly, monthly? Would WikiPay prefer that merchants hold back a certain percentage in their account to cover possible refunds and chargebacks? And if so, what kind of percentage would you guys like to see retained in that account?
So we don't have any limits currently. Again, the volumes that we've seen from a lot of our merchants have not been such that we require reserves to be put in place. We actually put the onus on that for our merchants to set on themselves, which they're doing a lot of cases anyway when they talk about credit card processing, for instance. So again, for us, there's no need, as we haven't seen any misuse, and we've been pretty fortunate not to have to see that. But we really trust that the transactions that are coming through on both our mobile and online solutions are in such a way that we don't have to set limits. We want to see, again, the sales of our merchants growing as fast as possible.
Okay. And like you say, you haven't had to limit anyone yet. I will say that it's my personal belief that as you open it up and you get more people in there, especially in select niches and select markets, that this is going to be something that you will have to address sooner rather than later. So I hate to make you speculate, but if let's say that an account did come under review and under scrutiny, now would there do you think? I really think that by what you're saying, you'll take it as a case-by-case basis, but can you speculate as to whether, there'll be an immediate freeze on the account, or would WikiPay kind of talk with the merchant, maybe freeze it for a while, contact the merchant, and maybe instead of banning the account outright, and this isn't for anything illegal or illicit or anything like that, just maybe an elevated risk, maybe, a higher number of refunds is anticipated or a higher number of chargeback, would WikiPay do something like levy a rolling hold on the account for a certain amount? Is that something that you guys are currently looking at as maybe a way to stave off risk as much as possible while still retaining a merchant account?
Certainly, again, we're open to the possibility that those things might happen. At the same time, for us, really, we want to make sure that the merchant is as proactive in telling us about those types of activities as we are in tracking them on our side. So we, again, haven't had to freeze any accounts to date. We haven't had to limit any accounts to date. But if things came up where we would have to go in and consider potentially limiting someone's account based on, again, a higher number of returns or a higher number of chargebacks, we're hoping that the merchant will come back to us and say, okay, for this reason, we believe that this is happening. And on our side, we would actually take a proactive approach to contact the merchant, work with them to make sure that's not happening. And that's something that we take pride in on our side, is that we're small and nimble enough to be able to do that for merchants right now, so that they can say, okay, the reason why this might be happening is customers don't really know how to use their mobile phone to do transactions via text. So we can put up something for the merchant which will have, for instance, a quick instruction on here are the types of text message codes that you can send that will enable those transactions to happen more quickly, so that they don't have as many things being bounced back, for instance.
Gotcha. From what I gather about your past, you've worked with a lot of charities and larger type organizations. But when you start filtering down into smaller merchants, there's always going to be the risk of, well, not the risk, but diversified niches. And by that, I mean that, let's say, a lot of web professionals, for instance, are in the adult industry, or they sell diet and nutrition supplements and materials, and even online gambling where it's legal. What's WikiPay's type of stance on these type of products? Obviously, I'm not talking about illegal content or pirated software or illegal substances. I'm talking about the things that traditionally have maybe a higher return rate, higher chargeback rate. Do you take it case by case, or are there any hard and fast rules out of the gate other than no illegal activity, of course, we don't want those kinds of products, specifically information type products.
Sure. So we've actually been approached by, a number of different professionals in all these industries that you mentioned. And again, we handle them on a case-by-case basis, and we want to make sure that really what is coming through obviously is not illicit in any way, but is something that can be done, should be done, and can be handled by our system. So our approach is, even for information products, let's say horoscopes and news, there's a lot of great websites out there that are providing this information. A lot more folks are accepting this information on their phones. They like seeing it in text, the kind of Twitter model where you have a certain number of characters and you're getting fed information in short batches really is valuable to people. And folks are seeing that sending this information in those packets in a very cost-efficient way makes sense for them. So obviously, as long as our customers view it as valuable, it's not seen as spam or unsolicited, absolutely. We want to work with our merchants to get that to them and make sure it's valuable to our customers. So again, for us, we look at these things on a case-by-case basis. We don't want to turn someone away just because of potentially the nature of what they're doing, as long as, again, it's not illegal or illicit.
Okay. Well, some payment processors have opted to require that their merchants actually provide a minimum of 100% no questions asked refund period. Sometimes it's 30 days, sometimes it's 60 days. While this provides a layer of security for buyers from unscrupulous sellers, as you can imagine, it provides no protection for sellers from unscrupulous buyers. So particularly for downloadable digital items like we're talking about that are delivered online, or in the future when more and more is delivered via phone. So does WikiPay have any such refund policy in place right out of the gate? And if not, is there any official stance on this?
We do not. And again, part of the reason for that is we want to make sure that the transactions that are being done, for the most part, are really being done through our system. And what I mean by that is we want to try to move away from credit card processing to the extent that we can and move people toward ACH. As you know, the debit card world is expanding much faster than credit for the very reason that people want to know how much money they have in their accounts to spend. So with WikiPay, our stance is very similar. We want to make sure that people who are loading money onto their accounts have that money to spend with merchants. And that's why we're making our recurring billing function a really robust module for us right now as well, so that you can have a certain amount of money always in your account. You can use it to pay bills, you can use it to make merchant transactions, and you can pay all those things, again, using our online or our mobile system. So for us, we really want to push people toward that so that they see the value in doing that, and they get updates from us and through our merchants saying, your bill is due within a week. You have this much money in your WikiPay account. These are messages that we will send out. Would you like to make your payment, or do you need to re-up your account? And again, people have seen that as a very valuable feature because it's almost like having an ATM contact you when a transaction is being made and making sure you have enough money in your account to make that transaction come true.
That kind of brings me to one of the more interesting facets of what I learned about in my research, and that's something that I learned that you guys are kind of getting away from, but it was called WikiCourt. So can you just explain basically what the purpose of WikiCourt was, and why you decided to no longer offer it, and what kind of dispute resolution methods are you going to look at instead of WikiCourt?
Sure. So WikiCourt, the concept here was really to provide a means for consumers and merchants to communicate with one another, and us to act as a kind of intermediary to actually send that information back and forth. What we saw was that consumers really, they take it upon themselves to contact merchants, and they like that. And merchants on the other side also like the ability to handle those questions and concerns that come up themselves. So while in theory the concept was good, a lot of our consumers actually started saying, we don't really need to have this as a platform for us. We prefer to handle this directly with the merchants, and the merchants said the same thing. So as a result, we've actually ramped down WikiCourt and are thinking of removing it as a construct for WikiPay and having those disputes handled directly between the customer and the merchant.
Yeah, for what it's worth, it's my personal viewpoint that it was just, it's a novel idea. I just when it comes to real life factors where, a merchant and a seller that have never met face to face, it just seems like it's just better to work it out on their own and then have some kind of internal dispute resolution where they can basically just speak back and forth if they want to, and then WikiPay have some kind of method for handling that and basically making the final decision if they can't come to it.
Our goal really is to make this process very transparent. One of the key concerns that a lot of consumers have is when it comes to mobile transactions, how do we ensure that the money that's floating through the air really does arrive where we intended it to arrive? And how do we make sure that that is a very safe and secure process? And that's one of our number one priorities, to make sure that that process is very transparent, is very easy, and works for both merchants and consumers. Thus why I think a lot of folks are starting to see that the ACH part of this, when you have actual money being moved from one side to the other versus credits, is probably the easiest way for people to grasp that concept. And again, being able to do it via text is such an eye-opening thing for folks because, again, text is a very personal communication device. You have your personal phone number, your own account, you have a password that no one else can have access to, and you're doing these transactions fairly seamlessly across the board. So for us, it's been a great thing to see how easily consumers latch onto it and start using it, and we hope that it's a great alternative to existing payment options.
And another question that has arisen, and I think that through a little bit of research and asking around, that I've come to see where it is that I think that the terminology on the site is a little bit ambiguous, and it's concerning a $20 NSF, non-sufficient funds fee. And according to the wikipay.com site, it says if any electronic request for payment or ACH debit is returned unsatisfied because of insufficient funds or for any other reason. And so just so my listeners are clear on this fee, it only applies if and when a user attempts to load his or her WikiPay account from a bank account that doesn't have adequate funds, correct?
That's exactly right. This is not meant to be insufficient funds within your WikiPay account. So for instance, if you have $20 in your WikiPay account, but you want to send 30 either to a merchant or to another consumer or to a friend, this would not apply to that. Our system wouldn't even allow you to make that transaction if you didn't have enough money in your WikiPay account. This is strictly for ACH that's coming from your personal bank account into the WikiPay system. So that fee only applies in that instance.
And that's basically to cover the ACH, because like you said earlier, ACH is a pretty expensive way to move money around, right? And WikiPay is kind of covering that?
Exactly right. So we want to make sure that user has money in their account to be able to move over from their bank account into WikiPay. And again, the reason for that is not only the high fees, but now when you have money in your WikiPay account, you are liable for that money in your account to send to someone else. And that money is real money being moved back and forth. So we want to make sure it's coming from a reliable source that was funded properly.
Gotcha. Thanks for clearing that up for us. Now, does WikiPay plan on releasing an API for possible third-party shopping cart integration? This is really important to the internet marketing community and e-commerce in general. One thing we like is to be able to to take a piece of software that already has the integration involved and stick a piece of code in, and we're online in about 10 minutes selling to our consumers. But if that API isn't made available to developers, it kind of constricts it. So what's WikiPay's stance on this, and is developer support something that can be expected down the line?
It is. So right now we offer a pretty straightforward API integration that our partners can download from our website and immediately start using. Again, it's a pretty plug and play module that anyone can do. However, on a case by case basis, we have had merchants and partnering organizations ask us for more complex integration as well. So, for instance, the Red Cross asked us, can we come up with an integration that allows real-time donations to be done at events, where people can donate via their mobile phone, and then on a scrolling LCD platform, you can start to see those donations coming through. And again, obviously that on our side, that requires a ton more work. But again, in that case, again, given they're such a great partner of ours, we're happy to do it and spend time to create that solution for them as needed. So for us, it's again, really what can we do to help our partners as much as possible and help developers. We're, again, still in the early stages of some of the API that we're looking at, but shopping cart integration is certainly one of the things that we anticipate having in a more seamless fashion down the line. But I think a lot of our API integration right now works, and we can add more bells and whistles as necessary when it comes to that.
Going down that same avenue, and I know we've kind of touched on this before, but as you realize, being a marketing guy, that affiliate marketing and the ability to run a commission-based affiliate program is an extremely large part of what we're kind of behind. We like to have a custom infrastructure so that we can go in and say, okay, so we can run our own independent affiliate program to where we can pay out affiliates through the WikiPay program or whatever program we're using, allow second tier affiliates to come in, just basically run our own commission-based program. So is this functionality already in WikiPay? If so, is there plans to implement it?
Sure. So this is something that we're working on right now. It comes up in two different forms. One is reward programs, which people have asked a lot about, and we want to make sure is tracked and properly funded. So that's something that we're definitely looking at. And as far as the multi-level affiliate marketing that you're mentioning, certainly we've worked with multi-level agencies before who want to have some sort of loyalty established and some sort of funding mechanism for those different layers that come through. I think we're somewhat in the nascent phases of that with our integration, but something that we're looking at in the near future, both to be done for large organizations and small ones to become large. So right now there's no payment gateway integration. We're looking to build that out more, but for right now we're kind of developing that as we go.
Ali, I can't thank you enough for coming on the show and spending so much time with me and giving the extremely great answers. Is there anything else that you want to put out there about WikiPay? What can we look forward to?
I think again, one of our biggest priority areas is expanding the work that we're doing with both our affiliates and folks that are looking to build out their businesses, from rewards programs to donations, the whole gamut. We really want to be seen as a very useful, cost-efficient, and all-encompassing payment mechanism that allows the communication piece to be there is really what we're pushing toward. And I think that's part of our social media strategy as well, as we start to do transactions beyond just the phone, to do it more online between individuals who are in different social networks. I think that's part of our focus going forward as well. But really the key differentiator, we hope, is what we're able to do with WikiBlast and our text marketing capabilities. We really find that the two-way communication, rather than just a push from merchants to consumers, is really going to be a differentiating factor of WikiPay that allows consumers to then come back and work with and help grow the businesses of our merchants as well. So that's really our focus area going forward, and we hope that's a useful functionality and technology for our customers.
Awesome. Ali, I want to thank you for coming on the Daredevil Marketing Podcast. If anybody want to go get more information, they can go to wikipay.com, right?
Yes, exactly. You can also check us out on any mobile device that has smartphone capabilities at m.wikipay.com. So online is www, and on the website for mobile, it's m.wikipay.com. So we're happy to answer any questions as they come up. And we hope that people love the functionality, and we hope that we get even more great opportunities like this. So I appreciate your help, Robert, to spread the word, and I hope this is a useful thing for your customers as well.
Thanks for coming on the show, Ali, and I wish you guys the best of luck, and I'll personally be in touch.
Thank you again, Robert. Really appreciate it.
All right. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
And that'll just about wrap us up for this episode of the Daredevil Marketing Podcast. I want to thank you for joining us. And remember, you can leave comments for this episode and every episode at daredevilmarketing.com. Be sure to subscribe to our newsletter. And if you have a question that you'd like read on a future episode of the Daredevil Marketing Podcast, submit them to podcast@daredevilmarketing.com or use our convenient contact form at daredevilmarketing.com/contact. Until next time, I want to remind you, carpe diem, seize the day, get out there and profit. This has been Robert Stukes, and once again, thank you for joining us on the Daredevil Marketing Podcast. DaredevilMarketing.com and the Daredevil Marketing Podcast are supported solely by our sponsors and affiliate partners. Our podcast listeners and website visitors should assume that all links are affiliate links or sponsored links, and any purchases made on the websites these links point to will enable us to receive a monetary commission. In some cases, these links are shortened for ease of use for both our benefit and for the benefit of our listeners and readers. As always, we at DaredevilMarketing.com appreciate the support of our listeners and readers for enabling us to continue to bring you the highest caliber of entrepreneur news, tips, tricks, interviews, and more. And as always, our pledge to you is to promote only the highest quality products and services 100% of the time. Our entire earnings and affiliate disclaimer page can be viewed at daredevilmarketing.com/disclaimer.